Open your phone right now and look at the apps you use every day. Your notes, your maps, your shopping lists, your messaging tools. Without even realizing it, you've probably noticed something new. More and more apps work even when the internet doesn't. They load instantly. They save instantly. They don't freeze when your signal drops. And they don't rely on cloud servers as heavily as they used to. Across the United States, a quiet revolution is happening in app development. Developers are shifting back toward offline-first design, a strategy that puts local storage, local processing, and instant responsiveness at the center of the experience instead of running everything through the cloud. It's a trend that's growing fast, and it's reshaping how American apps are being built. But why is this shift happening now, after a decade where everything seemed to be moving to the cloud? To understand the change, you have to look at the first major reason: the rising cost of cloud infrastructure. For years, developers enjoyed cheap cloud storage, inexpensive compute power, and low API usage fees. But over time, major cloud providers have steadily increased prices. Data transfer fees went up, storage costs grew, and new AI or analytics features introduced additional billing layers. For small US startups, these cloud bills were becoming painful. For large companies with millions of users, they were becoming enormous. So developers began asking a simple question: why not process more data on the device itself? Doing so reduces cloud usage, lowers monthly expenses, and gives users faster performance. A win across the board. The second reason behind the offline-first movement is reliability. Americans are more mobile than ever, switching constantly between Wi-Fi, 5G, and weak signals in rural or crowded areas. When apps freeze because of bad connectivity, users get frustrated. They don't want spinning wheels or error messages. They want instant action. Offline-first apps store data directly on the device and sync with the cloud only when needed. That means taking a note, adding an item to your cart, or editing a document feels instant, even if your connection is slow or non-existent. In a world where attention spans are short, reliability has become a competitive advantage. The third reason is speed. Cloud dependence creates latency. Even the fastest network introduces delay when every action must be sent to a server. Modern app users expect near-zero loading times, and developers are realizing something important. Apps feel dramatically faster when most of the work happens locally. Think about the difference between a website that loads from scratch every time versus an app that feels ready the moment you tap it. The offline-first approach gives users that instant-on feeling, and in the US market, where competition between apps is fierce, responsiveness can be the difference between a download and a deletion. The fourth driver is privacy. In the past few years, US consumers have become far more sensitive about where their data goes. Apps that constantly send information to the cloud feel intrusive. Apps that keep data on the device feel safer. Developers are responding by building systems that minimize cloud storage. Instead of saving every message, every preference, or every activity log to online servers, offline-first apps allow data to live primarily on the user's device. Syncing is optional, encrypted, and controlled. That reduces risk and increases trust, a major advantage in today's privacy-focused environment. The fifth force behind this trend is efficiency. Not every piece of data needs to live on a server. Not every user action needs to be logged or processed online. Developers are realizing that many features, such as text editing, image editing, product browsing, or task management, work perfectly well without constant internet contact. By trimming unnecessary cloud interactions, companies reduce server load, simplify back-end systems, and streamline maintenance. In an era when tech teams are under pressure to cut costs and improve performance, offline-first design becomes a powerful strategy. Another reason is regulatory pressure. States like California, Colorado, and Virginia have introduced new data privacy laws. These laws demand that companies handle user data with greater transparency and stricter protection. The fewer data points an app sends to the cloud, the fewer compliance hurdles the company faces. Offline-first design solves part of this problem by reducing how much information leaves the device in the first place. The seventh reason for the shift is performance on older devices. Not everyone is using the newest iPhone or the latest Android flagship. Many Americans rely on mid-range or aging devices. Apps that depend heavily on the cloud often run poorly on slower networks or older hardware. Offline-first apps, on the other hand, feel smoother because they rely less on constant data transfers. Developers are discovering that offline-first features help their apps reach a wider audience, create more consistent experiences, and reduce complaints about lag, freezing, and slow loading. The eighth factor driving this trend is the rise of local databases built specifically for offline-first design. Modern tools allow developers to sync local and cloud data seamlessly, without complicated engineering work. This means even small teams can build apps that feel fast, stable, and responsive without relying on massive cloud setups. These new tools have lowered the barrier to entry for offline-first development, and US startups are taking full advantage. All of this leads to a bigger question. What does the future look like if more apps move offline first? For users, the experience becomes faster, smoother, and more private. Apps load instantly. Features work anywhere. Fewer things break when connectivity drops, and less data flows to remote servers. For developers, it means lower cloud bills, fewer infrastructure complexities, and more control over performance. For the US tech industry as a whole, it represents a shift back toward device-powered computing, a reversal of the cloud everything mindset that dominated the past decade. But this doesn't mean the cloud is disappearing. Instead, it's becoming selective. Apps will sync when necessary, especially for collaboration, backups, or multiplayer features. But the default experience will rely on local power first. In many ways, the US is rediscovering something important. Devices today are powerful enough to do far more than we let them. Modern phones and laptops are capable machines. Offline-first design simply takes advantage of that power. So the next time you open an app and it works perfectly even without a signal, remember, it's not an accident. It's part of a growing movement, a shift toward apps that feel faster, safer, and more reliable. A shift that reduces cloud dependence, a shift that changes how developers think about performance and cost. This is the quiet comeback of offline-first apps, and for the future of American software, it's one of the most important changes taking place right now.